They announced that their star Victor Wembanyama, he's going to be shut down for the remainder of the season because of a deep vein thrombosis in his right shoulder, which is a form of a blood clot. The Spurs remain optimistic that Wembanyama will make a full recovery by the beginning of next season. So we'll talk about the impact of Wemby's injury in a minute, but let's first talk about him through his first couple of games. And Wendy, how would you frame Wemby's first, let's say, 1.5 seasons in the league?
Yeah, it's still disappointing to talk about his second season being over, but that is the case. And this is a guy who came into the league with enormous expectations, arguably the biggest since LeBron. And, you know, the last guy who kind of had this tag was Zion Williamson, that there was a lot of excitement about. And, you know, comparing him to Zion, you look at the massive impact he's made, not only on the Spurs, but on the league. He is putting up defensive metrics that we've almost never seen before for someone his age, and certainly among some of the best defensive centers ever, even though he's only 21 years old. And so the excitement level of him is so immense because he's over-delivering on high expectations already. And this injury is a setback, but it hopefully is just that, and it'll be forgotten by the start of next season.
Yeah, I mean, I think meeting the high expectations, I think, is the thing we have to talk about Victor Wembanyama. This is a 7'5" guy who does things we've never seen anybody do before. He came into the league with highest expectations of anybody since LeBron James. He's met them and probably exceeded them. That's what we're talking about with the ability he has already shown on the court. And you're looking at a guy who, at this point, he's 21 years old. He's scratching the surface of who he can be. And when I was in San Francisco this weekend for the All-Star game, Anthony Davis, Anthony Edwards, should say, one of the brightest young stars in the league, just seeded the stage in terms of being the face of the league going forward, saying that that's already set up for Victor Wembanyama to be that guy. Like, he's already shown less than 2 years into his career that he's got everything it takes to succeed LeBron James as the guy that this league revolves around, which is why the NBA set up a game in Paris last month that was basically just a Victor Wembanyama show for a week.
Yeah, and Tim McMahon, you live in the great state of Texas. You got the Rockets, you got the Mavs, you got the San Antonio Spurs out there. In the culture of Texas basketball, where is Wembanyama big picture in that really, really big state that's got a lot of good hoops?
I mean, he's got a chance to be right up there with the Dirk Nowitzkis, with the Akeem Olajuwons. You know, he's got a chance to be maybe the best player ever to play in this great state. But you got to be patient. It's going to take a little bit of time. Obviously, this is a setback. He's going to have to get his nose blooded a little bit in the playoffs, and the guys around him are going to have to grow with him. The Stephon Castles, you know, whoever they get, maybe 2 guys that they get in this year's lottery. But the Spurs are on the path to contention. I just don't think it will be on Wemby's rookie contract.
Wendy, quickly, he mentioned the lottery. What might this do for the Spurs draft position?
Well, right now they've got the 10th highest lottery odds. I know that there's an instantaneous concept that they would sort of tank. I don't think they're really going to go back that far because they just traded for De'Aaron Fox. They have some other good players. But between their pick and they have the Atlanta Hawks unprotected pick, they're going to have 2 bites at the apple to get into that top 4. And if they do, look out. This is a loaded draft at the top. They have Wemby. My God, if they get another high pick.
What's much more on the Spurs draft position coming up the next hour. And Wendy, how dare you say the T word on live TV? There's
not so much.
The news broke yesterday. Out for the season is Wembanyama because of a blood clot. It came out of nowhere, really a scary situation, but the team believes he will be fine going into next season. So, Windhorst, when you look at Wemby and how ballyhooed he was coming out of France, how would you put into perspective his first year and a half in the NBA?
Well, it's very depressing, Matt, to consider that his second season is over. But when you do take a step back and look at what he's done, you can't be anything but impressed. He has been the defensive force we envisioned from the moment he stepped into the league. And look, a lot of people dispute whether or not he should take as many outside shots as he does, but he has shown that he can stretch the floor and be a force on the interior and the exterior. He is determined to play a certain way offensively that he believes over the long haul is going to lead to the Spurs winning championships. And he has shown repeatedly he can be a difference maker in games. If you're 20, 21 years old and you can be a difference maker at the highest level multiple times, that is a signification that you are headed for greatness, and Victor Wembanyama is.
All right, so Tim Bontemps, when you look at this now for the Spurs, they've got a young nucleus. They made the trade for De'Aaron Fox. This is not going to help them the rest of the season, although they got the win last night. When you look at what this might do for their draft future and adding another piece for Wembanyama, what would you say?
I mean, I would say go back to 1997 when David Robinson spent most of that season sidelined with a back injury, and there just so happened to be a generational player in that draft, Tim Duncan. The Spurs just so happened to win the #1 pick in that draft. They went on to win 4 or 5 championships with Tim Duncan, and those two guys partnered for a couple of them, right? And you've got Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper sitting at the top of this draft, and the Spurs were not going to be a realistic contender to get one of those guys before this happened. Now that Victor's not going to play the rest of the season, they're likely to finish somewhere in the 7, 8, 9 range in the draft lottery. That's a position we've seen Zion Williamson, John Morant, teams jump up from there to get those kind of players. Spurs get that kind of guy to go with Victor and Stephon Castle and the other guys they've got. Going to be a very, very interesting thing going forward.
Tim McMahon, do you agree really with the future of San Antonio that perhaps they are a piece in a loaded draft from putting together another one of those runs we saw to San Antonio?
Yes, but it's not like they get another lottery pick and boom, they're an instant contender. It's going to take time. It's going to take getting their nose bloodied a couple times in the playoffs. They made a leap this season to respectability. I think next season they make a leap into the playoffs. They're on the path to contention. Be patient. You might actually have to wait till like Wemby's second contract.
Oh, okay. Well, see, now he went back to being the negative one. Everyone was all on bond temps on that for being the negative. And Wendy, for their draft purposes, I mean, you want to build a team young, and they've certainly got the cornerstone. Do you think they can work their way up into the lottery and find someone that makes a difference?
Yeah, and I want to point out that they also have the Atlanta Hawks pick this year unprotected. Now, the Hawks are on the bubble about whether they make the playoffs or not, but the chances are they're going to have 2 high picks in this draft. And they've done a good job drafting for this team, and they have the ability to use future draft assets and other trades. This De'Aaron Fox trade they made, they didn't give up any of their cornerstone or any of their really developmental players. So they are in position to improve themselves from within and through the draft in the near future.
Yeah, and all the Tim Duncan comparison he made with David Robinson. Could you imagine if Cooper Flagg somehow landed at San Antonio?
That'd be pretty incredible.
That would be
He's the perfect partner for Victor, truly.
And fun to watch. Gentlemen, great stuff. Thank you. Still ahead on
How's it going, everybody? Villa Sports Network here. Just want to thank you guys for your support on the channel. Thank you guys for watching the video. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Also want to kind of remind you to don't forget to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment on the video if you like as well. But regardless of the fact, thank you again for your support, and hope to see you on the next video.